Welcome to the Art Lady's home. Today I'm going to be rooting this gorgeous purple sweet potato vine. And look how beautiful it looks next to this variegated coleus here, that gorgeous sharp green of the coleus. It's amazing. But this plant is huge. It's a hanging basket, and it actually takes up the entire circle of this patio table here. So I'm going to cut it back, and I'm going to actually make 3 pots out of 1. So I'm going to give it a hard cut back, and then I'm going to root up the cuttings that I've done. And this is what I ended up doing. I ended up making 3 baskets or 3 pots from the mother plant. And the mother plant needed to be trimmed back. If you don't trim it back, it becomes too leggy. And so I trimmed it back quite a bit. I even put some topsoil, some more potting soil on the top of that plant because some of the roots were showing. So it's going to make this plant a lot healthier. And then it's also going to give me some free plants. So I've got 3 more pots. And look how beautiful this color looks when it's placed in the landscape here. It gives it that pop of that deep, beautiful purple color. And all the bright green leaves around it, it just enhances that color. So my idea is to have this in different places around the garden to give it that gorgeous purple color. I'm trying to bring more of this purple into my garden. One is going to be a hanging basket, and then 2 8-inch pots to place in the garden to give a little bit of pop of purple color. And the mother plant is still pretty big and healthy. Now what it did to the mother plant is it helped reduce the legginess. By trimming it back, it's going to now bush out better. It's good to cut back these sweet potato vines when they get too long and leggy. And by cutting them back and rooting them, you end up with more plants yourself. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did that. Here's a piece that's hanging over quite a bit, so I want to cut this back to probably the pot area so then it can bush out some more. And if you notice, there's little tiny roots starting to form here. So I'm going to go toward the pot, probably about 2 inches from my pot. And I'm going to go below, a 1/2 inch below where I'm seeing some of these roots coming out. And I'm just going to make a quick cut. So let me show you what I did. So it was about a 1/2 inch below the root. Now I'm going to come back and it's going to be a 1/4 inch. The first cut was just to get it off the plant and bring it up so I could do it carefully. Now I'm going to go a 1/4 inch from actually the root here. That's where the leaf node was. And I'm just going to do a slice like that. This is the part that I'm going to dip into the rooting hormone right here. I'm just going to remove a little bit of the leaves that are in the lower section here, just by pulling them off right here. And this is going to root all the way up here, where you can see the roots already even starting. All of that's going to be rooting. Now, right now, it's August, and I have, here in Central Florida, we're in the 90s, 92, 94, and it's extremely humid right now. So I'm able to do bigger cuttings because the air is just going to give moisture to all of this. And my roots are already starting to form here, so I'm going to take a pretty big piece here of the cutting. And what I want is some of these plants, big baskets of these throughout the garden to bring this gorgeous, beautiful purple color around the yard. So that's what I'm trying to do today. So I'm going to take some big pots here, and I'm going to fill it up with some potting soil. Alright, I filled up the first hanging basket, and I put in some topsoil blend with perlite and a good potting soil, and I mix that in together. Now I'm going to take the sections that I've just pulled out, and I'm going to take the straightest ones I can find. Here's one in here. And most of the cuttings that I did, I took from the oldest stems. And then this was a newer stem that was growing in the center. And I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle some of this rooting hormone. I'm going to actually just tap on these root areas too. Just give a little bit up in here because this is going to go all in the soil. This probably might not be necessary, but I'm just going to give it a little poke anyways. And the first one I'm going to do is in the very center. This is the straight growing, a very tall, straight, very straight growing piece. And I'm just going to put it down in, and then I'm going to press around the stem like so. Now I filled it halfway with soil, then I gave it a good watering, and then I filled the rest up, probably about an inch from the top here. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the next piece, which is a pretty large piece here. So I'm going to dip it in the rooting hormone. And I keep my rooting hormones in a separate little container. This is what I'm going to be using today. I don't want to dip into the container that I purchased because I don't want to contaminate anything in case these have any fungus or anything. I'm just going to pull out any leaves or little leaf buds that are coming out because I don't want that to rot in there. And again, I'll just give a little tap on these little nodes here where there was some roots, because I'm going to plant this pretty deep. And all of this should root very quickly. Now I'm going to poke in a hole on the side and place this in. And normally, like I said, I would take off a lot of these leaves, but because we have such high humidity, the air is going to support this for water. And then it's going to give nice moisture to it, so it's not going to dry out. And these root really easy. And then I'm going to fill up the other sides as well. Let's turn it so you can see this area. You can see how I stripped the leaves. It's a good 5 inches I stripped the leaves. I'm just going to do this here. And I'm going to do 3 of them around the center. I want it to look pretty full. Here's actually a small tip that broke off, so I'm going to do that too. Just do some small pieces in here. Around the middle. It's the ones I'm pulling off. See my sides as I'm pulling them off? I'm going to root these up as well. Oops. See that? It's got part of the original stem, so I can root that. But the large ones, I'm going to place around the edges. I want this to be a really beautiful full basket. Here's the smaller leaves, which has quite a bit of stem on it. And the last one I'm going to do over here on this side. Let's tilt this way so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to dig the hole. So I think I have 4. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do 4 big ones, and then I have some leaf ones I'm going to fill in. There. It's already hanging over. And now I'm just going to put some smaller. Any of them that have a little, like here's one. Let's slide this over so you can see it. Whoops. This is what I pulled off of an edge. But it's got some branching on it, so I can root that. Just dip it in. That'll give some fullness to the center as well. Right in here. And this is the pot I'm gonna keep it in. That's why I put some topsoil mixture with it. And good potting soil. It has some fertilizer with it as well. And there I have the first rootings. I'm gonna add my basket to it. There. now I'm ready to do another one. I have my pots ready, and these are just going to go in the garden. I want them on stands in the garden so they can pop up through the bright color, some bright color. So I'm going to take my big piece, dip it into the rooting hormone, and I'm going to do, and this looks like an 8-inch pot here. I'm just going to do 3 cuttings in this one. And there's the 3rd one right there. Now this one, I may trim this here because that's going to grow out that way. And I'm going to use the growing tip of this, the center. So any of the really long pieces, you can even make cuttings off of those. Just like that. If it bends in an awkward way. This will grow out at the tip here. This one's going to grow that way. So I have a nice pot for the garden. And here is the results of the cuttings that I did. I took and planted up. I have one really full hanging basket. And then I have 2 other 8-inch pots that are pretty full as well. The color's amazing. And the original I have just hanging right here. And it's still quite a full, impressive basket. So here's the view of it all together. On the original, I left a lot of it hanging down. Because I like that dripping over effect, I just trimmed it up a bit. I wanted to make sure I had some draping down on each side, and I took the older canes, anything that was real old and thicker, and I left the younger shoots. But there it is. And of course, in a few weeks it'll be ready for more cuttings. Now that I have my cuttings done and potted up, I put them in a shaded area that gets 100% shade, so no sun at all for at least a week. And I always stick them underneath this. This is a fishtail palm. This is my spot in the garden, and it's an area where I can watch it daily. But this particular little area here gets full shade. That's underneath here. You don't want the sun on them, especially because on this particular case, I took pretty large cuttings. So this is important to keep an eye on them and to have no shade at all.